Are you new to recovery from an addiction and trying to understand what role social media could play for you in regarding your recovery? Or are you a family member or friend who has a loved one who is new into recovery and you are curious to understand what is the benefits or the harm in regards to using social media in early recovery? If you answered yes to either one of those questions, you're in the right place and this video is for you. Hi friend, my name is Bernie from Tiger Resilience, where we offer addiction solutions for family members and friends who have a loved one who is struggling with an addiction, in addition to also helping the person with the addiction. If you're new to our channel, welcome, and I'm so glad that you could take a moment out of your busy schedule to stop by and check our video out. I can guarantee you will find value in this if you are curious to understand the role of social media in addiction, recovery, and sobriety. So let's get right into it. Double-edged sword when we're talking about addiction, recovery, and social media. It really is. Like anything else, there's a yin and a yang to everything. There's a good and a bad, and this is no different in a sense. But I'd like to preface this first by going back in history a little bit. My first involvement working with any online services when it came to the recovery communities was back in 1998. And there was a group for alcoholics called Alcoholics Anonymous online, and it was called aaonline.net, which was the original Alcoholics Anonymous group that was spun off of, but not part of the initial national or international program of Alcoholics Anonymous, but they were a partnership. And in that chat program, they consisted with messages as well as chats, and they would have live meetings throughout the day. They also had live chats throughout the day, and they had a fairly simple structure, similar that somebody who was going to a 12-step program meeting would go to. Now, some of the benefits of that at the time, working with it, the technology was very young and it was very early. The only other communications that was really big at that time regarding any addictions was to use America Online or Prodigy, which was another program at that time. They had chat boards, and you can connect with the chat boards. And there was definitely some early recovery chat boards that talked about how people were doing, how did they get to their points of recovery, or if they're struggling with the addiction and so on. But the launch of aaonline.net was really significant because it really opened up the door for people worldwide. And what that meant is that somewhere in the world, somebody was online at any time. So this was a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week opportunity for you to speak to somebody who was struggling also potentially with an addiction of alcohol. There was other people with different substance uses to go on there because there wasn't a lot of choices. And the program ran, again, basic group structures, just like a traditional 12-step AA program would run, where they had facilitated meetings with facilitators and topics and so on. One of the, again, powerful structures with it is that anyone had access to it. Now, I do remember working with some remote people that were either in very remote areas like Alaska or some parts of Canada, and there were some parts of the Northeast in Vermont and so on that did not have any local meetings, or the meetings were very far away and the individuals did not have an opportunity to be able to connect to them because of transportation issues or a multitude of issues. So this became a lifeline for quite a few people. In fact, during the 2010 World Alcoholics Anonymous Convention in San Antonio, I had the privilege and the benefit of going to that, and I was able to meet some people that were absolutely and positively impacted by having this online service. So from its infancy, there was a lot of goodwill involved with it. But I will also say, in that infancy, there was a lot of challenges. There were a lot of trolls, as many of you are, I'm sure, are aware of. These were people that would troll the website and troll the internet chats and create a whole lot of chaos. They would sometimes come in there as a member and be some fictitious person, but they really were just trolling other people. And then there was also people that were in recovery that didn't have the right intentions. They may have been interested in trying to connect with people not with the right intentions, or certainly their motivations were certainly questionable. So that was very evident right from the beginning, and it was certainly a challenge that continues to today. So let's bring forward. After that initial AA Online in 1998, we did have groups that came out after that. We had MySpace, we had Facebook that came out in 2004, I believe, and the platforms began to grow from that point forward, as so did the recovery communities working within them too. So the reason this is a double-edged sword, and we're going to take it up to today now, let's get up to present term. The challenge today with dealing with anything that's online is that you really don't know what other people are out there. Are they people? Are these there's are there some criminal or illicit activities? It's a big unknown, and there's a lot of trust factors that are going along with it. So the positive side on online recovery communities is definitely that you can connect with other people who are like-minded and or struggling, and you can ask questions. You can connect with them on chats or direct messages. There's a load of things that you can do in order to learn more about addiction, what the early recovery process is. And I have patients to this day that I work with that have and still continue to use it. The negative side is that, again, there are people with the wrong intentions, and there's some nefarious activities with these individuals, and they're looking to kind of capture somebody who's early and new into recovery. This is more specific to females than males, but it does apply to both. And in a sense, that becomes a challenge because they're predators, really. And at the end of the day, whether they're a troll, which is also a predator, or just somebody who's looking to try and make something from somebody else, there really are challenges in it. But at that end of the day, you need to weigh what's best for you. What are the best cost benefits to this, looking at it? In my experience, working since 1998 to present, there are more benefits working within social media platforms when you connect to the right groups and the right people, particularly if you do it within private group communities, because the private group communities, you have to be a member, you have to be allowed in, which means that there's administrators and facilitators that help do that. I also have a group on Facebook that I use that is a private group, and you need to have permission to enter it. And our group is predominantly around family members who are looking to talk about addiction issues with their loved ones, in a sense too. And I'll leave a link for that as well below in the description. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about it, you can check it out, and you can certainly message me and I can get back to you on it. But going back to the power of social media, so let's look at this in the context of each one of these different dynamics. So you have online chat programs, which allow you to have the structure of talking live to people. You also have the ability to be able to participate in meetings. And you have the social media groups, and these groups are definitely connections with people who can just share information back and forth. Instagram has a great amount of people in recovery that do share, and they have great little stories, and they do it in the Instagram Reels. They'll have like a 15-second snippet of how they were successful in something that they've accomplished, or that they've overcome an adversity even in recovery, and they share all of this back and forth, including the challenges. And that is almost priceless. It's powerful to have that because, years back you never had such a vast amount of people that you can connect with so quickly. So many of the benefits, going back to my original statement, in my opinion, there is a lot more benefits for social media to be a tool when it comes to recovery. It's not necessarily recovery itself, but it is a tool. And the reason that I suggest that it's a tool, not a complete recovery, is because there's other aspects of recovery. One of the big pieces to it are pretty self-evident and obvious right now, is that when you don't have the face-to-face contact with somebody, then therefore you're missing out on something. We need the human interaction. We need that human dynamic. And I'm very strong set on this by suggesting this with all the people I work with, that you need to have some human interaction. If you stay strictly with a digital thing here, and I'm looking over here at my iPad, and this is going to be my only source of communication and connection to the world, I'm really going to become isolated, and I'm going to create a lot of conditions that could potentially put that individual back into a possible relapse, in a sense. Isolation is not a place to be in early recovery. When you look at the wealth of knowledge that is out there, people that have 1 month, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, there's a vast amount of experience out there that can help benefit. And anyone who has a question about some of the challenges that they're going through right now, this is an absolute perfect tool for you, because you just need to get some insight, and you also need to know that somebody else has gone through that same trouble that you're dealing with in early recovery, some of the same angst, some of the same challenges that you may be facing, others have faced, and here you can learn about it and know that you too can overcome that adversity and come out the other end of it. I can share as well from the life experiences myself personally that 30 years ago, struggling with alcohol and knowing what those challenges were and understanding the before and the after all these years later, certainly, and that different dynamics that play along with it are very powerful tools to help give people hope, to give them help, to give them insight, and give them an opportunity to know that tomorrow can and will be a better day for them. So what are some tips to be guided about First of all, sharing your story is one of the most powerful things in early recovery. Online, my encouragement is to be guarded and cautious about how much you disclose in your story. Again, if it's a private group and it's a small group and you get to learn and know a little bit about the people in that group, you can start slowly adding little pieces of your story as you feel comfortable with it. But I would absolutely positively tell you right now, please don't open up your war chest and give out everything that you've done to the world without knowing where that's going, because it can potentially and most likely will be used against you in some way. And who also knows what the nefarious mindsets of some people that just don't have the right intentions are, and they have that information that could also be like a loaded gun too. So be very guarded about your story. And one of the tips here is that do not share your story right up front. Do it when you feel comfortable and you have some confidence in some people. You may make a couple of friends in a particular private chat group, and in that group you can discuss it potentially on a direct message or so on, also with the posting boards as well. Again, let people earn your trust and that you will earn their trust back and forth, and that's how you'll develop that and be able to share things. Use your common sense with that because it's a big piece. Don't open up the book to share your whole story. Also, do not take every piece of advice as absolute fact, because there's a lot of people with a lot of opinions. And I went back to school to learn about this field after dealing with the challenges with addiction and alcoholism. And I spent many years in much of education and programs learning about all the processes from psychology and the biology and the neurological aspects to it, the behavioral aspects to it, and so on. But there's a lot of people who will have opinions that they have validity to a sense, but they may not be the right opinion for you because they are just opinion based. There's no evidence based or science based behind it. So be very careful about connecting with people and what they say and how much of that you take to heart. Like, what is it that it can do for you in many ways? And there are some people who just have some flat out wrong things. They have a very strong opinion about a belief of something, and that's it. I work with some people that have been online that are very spiritual and very strong about the religious aspects or the spiritual aspects of a program, and they're very adamant that if you don't have that, you're just not going to be in recovery. And that scares a lot of people who are either agnostic or struggling with it, or atheist, and they just don't believe in anything greater than themselves in a sense. And that can be a great turnoff for them because it doesn't give them that opportunity to fit into that community in a sense too. So again, be guarded about people's opinions. Always look for professional advice and seek professional advice if you have a question about something regarding your life, your journey, and certainly your recovery. Do not take everything you read or hear on the internet as truth. I'm sure you've heard that one before. Another tip is also not to get too involved with it where it becomes an obsession, all right? Because addictive behavior is just that, it's a behavior. And this is a big one. And I see it with a lot of people today, and sometimes myself, finding myself in that same situation where you're on your phone and you're just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling through things, and you kind of lose contact with the world around you, all right? Schedule time that you want to connect with people. Schedule times, whether it's a meeting online with a chat time that they're going to get together at a certain time and you're going to be able to discuss things. Or if you're posting on chat boards and you're having some information back and forth, the community forums, set a specific time that you do that. If it's, I get up in the morning, I just want to post and review feedback I've gotten from something I wrote, yesterday or last night, and I'll spend, 45 minutes or 30 minutes doing that, and then I'm going to go out and start doing my life as well too. So don't get caught up in the endless scroll of social media, because that also, as any other addiction, is behavior, and it can be very addictive too. And it can also take away from your recovery because you start refocusing all of your energy on other people. So the tip is, please don't get caught up in the unlimited scrolling and being caught up on this 24/7, because it can be an addiction on itself, and internet addiction is a real thing. Getting into that endless scrolling and endless posts and the Instagrams and the TikToks and just going back and back and back and back and back, it is, and I'll share this from my own experience. I've seen that, I get myself kind of caught up checking on something, and then it just, 30 minutes goes by and I'm like, wow, wait a minute. I just wanted to see one thing and I ended up spending more time than I anticipated. be very guarded on that. You do not want to be locked into it. My encouragement is, and what I do with a lot of the patients and myself too that I work with and the clients that I work with, is we schedule time frames on it. Put a block of time in your day that you want to, review social media. If you have a certain block time, whether it's an hour during a certain part of the day or whatever that you want to do to respond to some posts or to post some new information that you're interested in learning things about, block it out as scheduled time. Don't just go in there randomly and aimlessly, because you will get lost in it. And again, that also starts to create the isolation piece too, because you start living under other people's ideas of life, and you start taking away from your own personal journey of growth and recovery. And the underlying word here is growth. And one last thing to be wary of, once again, and I mentioned this earlier, and this is a big check mark for this box particularly, is just watch out for relationships or people that are messaging you that you don't know who they are. And they're just kind of, hey, I saw your post. You look like you have a cool story. Hey, I'm in recovery too. Hey, can we chat? Can we connect on a messenger app, WhatsApp service or whatever it may be? And that's something you really need to put some brakes on. You need to put a red flag out, because people have to, once again, as I mentioned earlier, you need to have trust. It needs to be earned on both ends. And somebody just kind of getting out of the blue and kind of messaging you, and they can sound the most sincere person. And I say this guardedly because there could be good people really doing that. But my experience has proven that there's less good people doing that, and there's more people who will immediately go after, a newcomer or somebody new into those programs and start chatting with them really quick. And that's been my experience from even since 1998, working with the original online chat programs. That's somebody who's messaging you, brand new, and they're like, hey, I want to connect with you. This is really cool. You had a great story. I like your name. Who you are, so on. Please use a check mark on this to say, you know what? I appreciate you. Thank you for your kindness and that. I don't do chats right now. I'm in early recovery. If you want to talk to me, you can message the community and you can respond in that manner, in a sense too. And you can do it respectfully. Another way too, certainly, is just don't answer at all. Don't respond at all. And if it becomes a harassment, then of course the great thing about technology today is you can block it. So you have that opportunity. So the takeaway here truly is to understand that social media really is a double-edged sword. There is a good side to it and there's a challenging side to it. In my experience, again, going back to what I was speaking about originally, in all the years that I've been working in the field and all the years I've been working on social media, 1998 is when I first started with this, I can tell you that it is definitely got more benefits than not if it's done right and if it's done with clarity and also with understanding your vulnerabilities and understanding what challenges that can be out there. So be smart, be guarded with it, and you can find a lot of resources. At Tiger Resilience, we are on multiple social media platforms, and we message and we do a lot of reach out to a lot of different people in it, and it's been a huge tool for them to be able to have these resources, which is the reason we developed a YouTube channel for Tiger Resilience, was to provide this information for people without charge so they can understand the dynamics from recovery aspects as well as from the professional aspects, which is I offer both. Again, covering from a recovering alcoholic in some 30 years ago to also being a professional clinician, therapist, and also program director, along with my partner, Dr. Jamie Redwing. So if you found any value in this information, this video, could you please consider liking this video? And if so, that would help us pay it forward to some other families as well. Also, I will have a comment pinned below with some information. If you have some experiences on your working on social media, I would love to hear from you. We're really good at responding back to all of our messages. I would love to hear back from you about your personal experiences, good or bad, regarding any social media experiences. And it could be from you as a person who's in recovery or your family member who has a loved one in recovery and you've experienced some either good or bad experiences regarding to their behaviors or their life working through social media as a tool in the recovery process. Again, my name is Bernie from Tiger Resilience, where we offer addiction solutions for family members and friends who are struggling with an addiction in addition to the person with addictions. I'm glad that you took a moment out of your busy schedule here. Please stay tuned and know that we have videos being produced every single week that will touch on a host of discussions regarding addiction and the challenges of dealing with addiction and recovery. So we work the problem and we also work with the solutions. Thank you once again. I wish you nothing but the best today.